been is, you got to do what you got to do, fam.
And
Fight for
pause.
your
First
life.
off,
And pause when you
Fight for your life.
hold on, Pat. Hold on,
You
Fight
know,
Pat.
for
vegans
your
in
life.
this. There's no vegans in this.
All right,
Before y'all
what
do
you
that,
talking
before
about,
y'all do
nigga?
that,
We are
hold on, before y'all
vegans,
do
guys.
that, before y'all do that, hold on, give me a minute. Before y'all do that with the biting ear, only reason Mike Tyson bit his ear because he was calling it Drew that fight, saying that Evander Holyfield's headbutt. He kept getting headbutt
Yeah,
by
facts.
Evander
No, I
Holyfield.
remember that fight. Yeah,
And
Yeah.
everybody
Right.
know Evander
Tyson was
Holyfield is
fighting
known
like
for
he was in
headbutt.
Jamaica.
So
Don't do
He
that
was
that.
nigga
getting
was
ear
fighting
really
for
quick.
his life. That nigga was a stray dog trying to get that last piece of pigeon in the street.
He from
My-
Brownsville. He from Brownsville. What?
Oh,
That's how he was
God,
fighting.
he from Brownsville. I
Yep,
understand
he
why he
from my
bit
hood.
your ear.
He from my hood. He from
Woo!
Brownsville. He get hungry. He
How
gonna
many
bite
times
you.
Brownsville
they
He
said
gonna
rough.
go
twice
dancing on the
already,
corner
right?
like ah.
When you hear Brownsville, your heart stops.
Yeah,
Brownsville rough.
Brownsville, your pockets closed up. That's what. Run.
Shit, you better know how to duck goose, nigga. If you know
Listen,
They're gonna be like
Brownsville.
Ricky.
What you
moving
talking about?
on. Moving on. Duck, duck, goose. Do we continue to allow our past and childhood to affect our adult life?
No, you address it.
And how do we let go of childhood trauma and do we seek help? I combine two.
You gotta confront it. Sometimes you might have to confront the person or people that might have affected them. You might know them years later and say, listen, this affected me. Even if they don't say anything about it, you get your closure within yourself by saying, listen, this happening, this affected me. And I just want to let you know that it affected me. I'm over it, but it affected me. Like you
What
can't
happens if
keep
you don't?
holding
What happens
things
if you
in.
don't get that closure then? So
Right.
like, what happens if that person?
What happened if that person
You
said,
let money
you let
money
you
speak for
talk to that
itself.
person for like 30
One at
minutes.
a time, please. One at a time.
You let your money speak for itself.
No,
I mean, yeah, you gotta seek help.
I think
Yeah.
that, you know, as a culture, I mean, growing up, people so like going to therapy, and now that I'm a therapist, I know that therapy actually really does work for people. Like you have to address that. Sometimes there is no closure. People who have childhood trauma, the person that did it to them died, or you know, they die
that's a
with their
fact.
secrets. You know what I mean? Or they just disappear, or they get lost. You gotta forgive within yourself. You don't have to forget, but you have to forgive, and you got to take care of yourself, and that's your well-being, your health, because mentally you can't. That affects relationships, not just like sexual relationships, but relationships like family and friend relationships with people, and how you move through life. You know, you you can't have positive and productive relationships with people, and you'll always feel like people are hurting you, when sometimes people are not really hurting you, they looking out for you.
It might even be the
Tiffany,
way you communicate with people that could be different
Yeah,
because of your trauma. Like it don't have to be a sexual thing. It don't even have to be bullying, but like you might
right,
have been raised a certain way to speak. And now when you get around people who say, hey, I'm offended by the way you speak, or it's not maybe what you said, it's how you said it. It could be the
right,
way you were, you were traumatized, that's how your defense mechanism in a sense.
right.
hey, Tiffany.
Yes.
So when you said this line, right? You got to forgive, but you don't forget. How do you forgive and don't forget at the same time?
I mean, because I had this conversation with someone just a couple days ago about this. It's hard for you to forget trauma. Trauma is not something that just comes out of your mind, and you one day you wake up and you just be like, oh, I forgot about this. Trauma affects how it can shape you as a person, right? So in order for you to forgive that person, you have to do the work, right? But doing the work means that maybe you not forgetting, you may help somebody else along the way. I can bring up like child abuse, right? So for me, I was never abused as a child, but I know people that were abused as a child, right? And people that who get abused, sometimes they grow up, they're not necessarily the abuser, but they're a little bit more lax in their parenting skills, right? Because they were abused. Or sometimes they're more aggressive in their parenting skills. So they think that beating their kids is an effective way to communicate to kids, when kids are different now when they grow up. Kids are different the way we were raised. You don't necessarily have to, and people can agree to disagree with me, but you know your kids. Some kids you can talk to, and some kids you may have to be like, sit your ass down, I'm gonna bust it, right? But but this comes from your childhood trauma too. If you were abused your whole entire life and you know nothing else, you think it's okay, and you don't think to communicate with the kids that you're raising. You think that they're just, you see what you were like in them, and that's not necessarily the case. So I mean,
A
you
lot of
don't.
people use the Bible as when the Bible states to discipline your children.
Right.
So
My
that's
mother,
what a lot of
my
that
mother
from.
says, what is it? Spoil the child, spare the rod, spoil the child. One of that's saying that people, um, a lot of people use religion to discipline kids. There's a
Yeah.
lot of religions out
Mentally,
there that,
to discipline kids mentally.
yeah,
I'm not using no old voodoo book to discipline my
right.
kids.
You funny.
Yeah, I
Who
said
said
that kind of
voodoo?
slickly. To piggyback on what Tiff said and to answer Sleep's question, you really do have to forgive the people when trauma and things that affect you are involved, because you're not forgiving them for them, you're forgiving them for you. Because
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, when the bad stuff happens to you from a bad person, 95% of the time, bad people sleep very well at night.
They
It's the
do.
good people that be up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the morning,
Yeah.
wondering
Chilling.
how this could be. Why would they do this to me? I didn't do anything to them. That person who
Mhm.
did you wrong been asleep since 11:30,
Yep.
soundly
Right.
comfortable,
Comfortable.
waking up
Yeah.
refreshed.
I
So,
got a question.
what's the question?
What if the forgiveness? This is just hypothetically speaking. I guess because I'm kind of like trying to relate that in a sense, but like, what if it was spiritual? Like you can't forget. Like I felt like for a long time I couldn't forgive God for what He did to like the trauma that was done to me spiritually. So how do you forgive yourself in a spiritual realm to forgive Him for the things that you don't understand? You know what I mean?
That's a good question.
That's a
Man, I
heavy
can't answer that
question.
one. I want to know I want to
That's
know
a
why
heavy
you mad at
question.
God. I'm curious. Why you
There's a
can't
lot of
forgive
reasons
God?
to be mad at
He
God.
said, why you mad? What did you say? Why would you be mad at God?
Yeah, I'm just
Like
curious.
you're not supposed to question Him or whatever, but sometimes you mad at Him and you
Oh,
don't understand why, and you want to forgive Him so that you can forgive yourself and
oh,
understand the situation.
half the chat just left. That was all the Christians. Now,
You know what I'm saying? Like
No,
I give
no,
you an
Oh
trauma.
no,
example.
privilege.
get
Like,
that out of
like
there.
Trauma is a
my
very,
my
this
trauma
topic is a very heavy topic for people. Some
my
people don't
trauma is
want it.
spiritual. It
Because I
like
asked,
I no,
no,
I'm
go
saying
ahead.
like my trauma is more spiritual. Like I already dealt with all the demons on earth. Like my trauma is more of like the spiritual of like trying to forgive myself for the demons on earth blaming me for things that I didn't do, but like blaming God for taking away what He did that was so traumatic to me that like how do I forgive Him to understand what He did?
That's a
You know what?
very,
That comes
very
with,
no.
I'm gonna think deep.
Go
That
ahead.
comes with a lot of soul searching. Like you definitely got to do a lot of soul searching.
It's been a process.
When I say that, I mean you see people who have
Hey,
visited. Just one example, people who go to
I
Israel, who visited Egypt. Go ahead.
I mean, to answer that question, you gotta kind of like give people detail to get an understanding.
Nah,
Right.
you don't have to give details because, like, I remember.
Because like like I know I used to go to therapy. I ain't gonna lie.
Mhm.
I had a mental break over a lot of stuff. Just because just holding stuff in, not saying nothing, just being humble,
Right.
being cool.
Black man. That's the black man's worst enemy. Holding
And I
things.
literally had just chilling, not saying nothing. I had to go to therapy. This actually was 2-3 years ago. I actually became homeless behind it and all that. But like I said, you have to, and I was told you have to describe the detail. And
Yeah.
you describing the detail, you literally start answering it yourself because you start getting a better understanding as you describe your detail.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I did that part. Like, as far as like, I know my parents was tired. I know that my mom had issues with her heart, but like the understand the why question, like you said, you could stay up at night and just go crazy asking yourself questions about the things. Like you have to be able to forgive, and that's what Christianity teaches you in a sense to forgive things. But like, can you forgive God? Like, is that wrong to feel like you should be mad at him or you can't forgive him for something? Like, is that something that you shouldn't do? Is it frowned upon? Because
Listen,
I mean, daily I let it go, but you know, in the beginning, it was like I was mad at God, and you
Right.
can't get mad at God. You know what I mean? Like,
Valid. I mean, people can be angry. Sometimes maybe it's called displaced anger. You know, maybe you feel like you're mad at God, but you might not be necessarily mad. And they like on a platform like this, spirituality, honestly, and Christianity is a huge thing to like touch because there are, like Pat
a
said,
touchy subject.
yeah, there's people
It's
who
misleading. It's very
yes,
misleading.
yes,
That's why it's touchy, because it's very misleading.
yeah,
no,
and there are
it's not
people.
touchy. It's not touchy because it's misleading. It's touchy because you can't even question these things without people getting mad with you.
Yes.
Without people like I remember, I think I was like maybe 12 or 13. My stepfather, I said, if God is so good, why do people get diseases and stuff like that? You smack the shit out of me. That
Yeah.
was the end of,
Right.
that was the end of that conversation. But that's
Yeah.
not the answer. That's
That was
not.
well earned.
Yeah. Because
No, it's
a lot of
not.
people
It's a valid question for an inquisitive kid.
No,
Like, why are kids getting cancer at 3 years old and stuff like that? Why is world hunger and this and that? Why is the
he should have
slavery?
explained it to you like
Why
us,
does slavery
kids for
exist
free.
for 400 years if God is so great? These are the questions you ask when you care, and just the answer is to get smacked in the mouth. That's not an answer. That's immaturity.
but that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to tell you. Like when you
Sometimes it's
It's
I
like
don't
it's
know.
like
right,
it's
Sometimes
like
it's I
it's
don't
like
know.
it's like I mean, let's be real. How much of us actually did the research of finding out our history, how far it goes, how was it back in those times versus these times? Because these times that we live in now is everything is sensitive, like extremely touchy, like everything. We can't say nothing. We can't open our mouth about anything. We can't, we can't breathe it. We can't, we can't touch on it. Majority of the times we gotta let it go.
And
So
that's why.
how,
Go ahead. No, finish up.
and that's why like me per se, I do appreciate back in the days, even though Pat, I know what you talk about where you can't say certain things because the way our parents looked at it, because come on, I said a couple of lines, I got my tail whooped because it's like basically cursing the whole family.
right.
So it's like cursing the whole, remember your bloodline, you connect to that bloodline connects to that. So you cursing the whole bloodline because of basically what blasphemy.
You're not cursing the whole bloodline. You're trying to figure out. You're trying to understand. You're trying
And
to.
you
That's not
and you
cursing.
forget, and we forget that a lot of people forget that. Remember, we was being raised by our kids as well, because my mom was a kid raising us. So
Right.
she already thinking we adults at 12.
Right.
Remember, Pat, you probably was mature at 12 years old, just like I was mature at 12 years old. So even your uncle, your grandpa, they already looked at you as an adult.
Yeah,
Because
I don't believe that.
I think. I mean,
I believe that.
I
Because
grew
I
up
was
in a
treated
West
like an
Indian
adult
home.
majority of the times.
Hold
I
up.
grew up in a Jamaican. My mother's Jamaican, and I grew up in a West Indian home. And I don't know who else is West Indian, but it's a child should be seen and not heard, right? The child should be seen and not heard. Now in my adult life, I don't think so. I think that, that really suppressed a lot of things that I had, a lot of questions. It suppressed a lot of answers. It suppressed like just things that I felt like going into high school and college, things that I should have known about earlier because I was seen and not heard. So I didn't ask the questions that I needed to ask. I didn't
Exactly.
so I didn't have answers for them, you know what I mean? And I wasn't able to express myself. So when things happen because I wasn't able to express myself, why should I even tell you now, right? I don't have that type of relationship in my household because I need to listen to my child to hear what she has to say to me because there might be an important moment that she may have to tell me something and I missed that whole,
Yeah, trying to be a
right.
dictator.
Huh?
You might miss that moment trying to be a dictator.
Trying to be a dictator. You miss moments trying to be dictators because you don't want to listen to. And I'm not telling people how to parent, but what I'm saying is that you have to just in relationships too. you have to listen to when people, I tell people all the time, listen to the words of what people say. You will hear their insecurities through their words, and you will hear what they are saying to you. But if you keep running your mouth and talking, you will never hear what that other person has to say to you. And I think that speaks true to like all relationships. You can never hear people. Go ahead, Pat.
In the chat, NYK Whitfield says, you first have to understand that nothing on earth is belong to you. Whatever God took away belonged to him. First, he gave his only begotten son to die for us. So you think he wasn't coming back for what belongs to him?
Hey, Relena.
He's not Christian or Christianity. Christianity is man-made.
Hey, Relena. Thanks for the
ain't gonna lie to
comment.
you.
Listen, that whole Marvel comic story about the anyway,
about what?
The Jesus and Thanos and
those 6 rings.
Can't be like that, Pat.
Listen, man. I'm just saying, like a lot of shit sound wonky, man. When you start reanalyzing a lot of this shit,
you got to remember, we was more closer back then. It was more closer to God than it is now. We more further than God because a lot of people don't believe.
Not go down the street because
listen,
that's a fact. I mean,
because it was forced upon us. Like we used to pick cotton for 6 days, and on the 7th day, they would stop us from picking cotton so we could learn about this book, but we couldn't be able to read. Why was this book so important? But they ain't let no other book come to us, bro. It just a lot like you said, a lot of this is man-made. It sounds like Avengers Endgame, just without the graphics.
If you do the history, there was a Bible in Africa, brother.
I'm not
I'm just saying to you. Don't let that, whatever movie they put that in, don't let that shit 12 years slave or whatever. Don't let that shit act like the white man gave it to us. Because there was don't put it like that.
It wasn't no Christianity in Africa.
Because my man, nobody said it was Christianity. Nobody said it was Christianity, but it was something that was called something else. That does not mean it had to be called Christianity. That's we named ourselves.
Version is what you said.
I'm saying we named it. There's multiple names for it. That's why God go by over 100 something names.
You saying in Africa we had Jordans and now we got attack force. Christianity is Payless. It's what you saying.
Yo, listen, I don't know where you going, but I don't know where you going. But listen, there's multiple stuff. Like I said, God goes under over 100 names, probably 200 names. We all following the same trend. It's just that it's told differently. There was a book of the Bible from the Muslims over 1,500 years ago.
Let me tell you something. When I'm talking about the Bible and God, people, y'all going into a whole different.
Yeah, how we get on the Bible? I just asked one question.
I'm just saying, like, you just got to do it. Like, history. Listen, history. We know how diluted history is. We know how it goes. But you got to believe something. Something got to be. You got to believe in something.
I'm not an atheist. I believe in the Most High. I just don't believe.
You call it the Most High. And the Most High is considered. See, with the Most High is considered an alien. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If y'all people
know, and if you watch Ruthless, it's the
Rakadushis. It's considered an alien.
So maybe
the highest.
No, listen. Maybe God is an alien. I do think the Earth is the hood, though.
Why? Wait.
I mean, if you want to name it like that, because if you want to say demons are aliens, you can say that. You can literally say that because they are not from this earth. When they got cast out, where do you think they came to? Where do you think they visited? You can say that if you want to, but I'm not saying it's accurate.
All I know, they fly by Earth and lock their doors because Earth is the home. They be like, no, we ain't going there.
You are funny.
They be killing everybody over there.
What you trying to say? They treat Earth like Brownsville?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yo, y'all about to have my whole Facebook on here. Don't be talking about my hood.
Yo,
nah, you already know they're gonna jump on here like, nah, son.
No. You've talked about Brownsville to me. Stop fronting. Stop. You left. You don't live there no more. You left as quick as possible. Stop it.
Oh,
Well, I lived in
Brownsville is the last of the gentrification. They ain't gonna get that shit.
The lies.
They
They might-
gentrifying
New York.
Brownsville. I mean, I lived in East New York for a majority of my life, so they not gentrifying those two
Cat
places.
full.
Yo, somebody took me to Brownsville one time. You could put that cap on if you want to.
Yeah, I am.
Somebody took me to Brownsville one
About 4
time.
more of these.
Where
I'm
they
talking
live
about my
at in
hood.
Brownsville? Where they gentrify Brownsville at? Tell me.
They not. That's the point. Somebody
Yes,
took me to
they saying they
Brownsville.
are. She put the cap
Yes, they
on.
are. There's mad white people in the Ville now. What is you
Yeah.
talking about? Where
That's
you
because
been?
the pandemic hit and they
Look,
can't
kid.
afford to live on.
Please, all my niggas from the hood, please come and vouch me and tell these niggas that there are white people walking around on Mother Gassing and Picking
That's
now.
because they can't
believe
afford
that.
now because the pandemic hit. They can't afford to live anywhere else.
Absolutely.
But they
So
will
don't say the
figure it out.
Ville ain't getting gentrified. They might be
All
going
I know-
to East New York now.
Listen, when they come home and they TV is missing, they will figure it out very soon.
Yeah, yo, TT and Pookie and them took that shit. Yeah, I mean, they was running on the block with that shit.
And I don't know if there's any white people living on Pickens Avenue, but if it is, please snap a picture and send it to me.
Please, I
Yeah.
wanna see that.
They in the ones that are like they the recently built ones. You know, they got the
Oh.
little
Like
driveway and
loft,
shit,
loft,
like on
like the
Amboy and
loft and
shit.
shit.
Are you serious?
The townhomes. They some of them are in the projects, but most of them are in those little townhomes
They living in a
on the side
project.
streets. On the side streets, yeah.
I could see them living in Sally Matthews, maybe.
Shoot, I mean, they ain't in every hood, but you got a few up in like Langston Hughes, a few in Marcus Garvey. They walk around. People gotta live.
So, question: where is that 3-stop? Is it Livonia? That's
Livonia
Brownsville,
and
right?
Rockaway. Yeah, that's right. That's Brownsville.
So my man, and I just tagged him in the chat, and I
Who
think
doing
Natia-
Livonia Avenue, Pat?
so listen, I think it was
Was you scared? Did you
No,
run?
no, I wasn't. No, he took me there, and I think Natia and Tiff. I think y'all both know him because I think we both went to school with him, unless that was junior high. No,
She
I
went
think
to TU?
Yes.
yes.
Oh shit. Girl, I was a freshman. I don't know.
No, you know what? You know what? The men were more friendly. The upperclassmen women they didn't.
Yeah,
talk.
they was messing with us
They-
freshmen. I
they
was a
was
freshman
all
when y'all
shady.
was seniors.
They was all shady. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, they was.
I was
all,
a vocal major, all that.
You wasn't
But
for
anyway-
it so far.
But
Okay.
anyway, I just tagged him in the chat. He took me to Brownsville, and he was like, "Yo, go in that store. It's like one of them Asian stores. They sell little everything." He said, "Go in there, ask for a red flag." I said, "Yo, y'all got red flag in here?" That Asian man got so mad. No, you go here. No trouble. I want no trouble now. You go. Yo, you couldn't even ask for a red flag in a general store. They had every other color except for red.
Wait, but who took you to Brownsville, Pat?
His name is Loon Don. We used to call him Looney. I don't know if y'all remember.
Oh, Looney. Yes, of
Exactly.
course
Right,
I know
if I
Looney.
see him.
He's not gonna know him because he dropped out of school in our 9th grade year.
Listen, it was seniors that was still floating around throughout the time we was in high school that had already graduated and shit, like y'all friend Taquan and all of them.
So then we walking, and I seen this man. This man had to be about 75 with a cane. Could barely walk. He had a blue flag tied around his cane. I was like, "Yo, bro, take me to the train station. I'm ready to go."
That is very valid. They on the canes, they on the walkers.
I said, "This is a different level of poor."
They hanging out their diapers.
Grip up.
Like,
Bro.
yo, I got the flag in my pull-up, son.
Yeah,
What's
I
good?
went right back to my fancy. I felt like I was fancy all of a sudden after I saw that part of Brooklyn. Took me back to my fancy Nostrand Avenue and Prospect Place. I felt safe. I never went back. Like, nah,
Yeah.
Brownsville is
Lie,
not
Pat,
getting.
you came to my house. What you talking about?
I can't. Yo, I took a cab. I got in the cab and went up.
He took a cab.
Called the cab, got back in the left. I know what I did. No.
He wasn't walking around. He wasn't
I
frequenting.
can see how they gentrifying both those places because it's not gonna just like here because I live close to DC. They trying to gentrify like Southeast DC and those places, and then they
They trying to turn y'all into Potomac.
Yeah, they starting to shoot out again. Like you stepping over bodies coming out your house. The girls, I stepped over a body this morning, and I'm like, okay, you know, she's moving. Like the next week, she's like, I gotta find somewhere else to live. They're not gonna stay there long. They gentrify it for it's a couple years, and then they move out.
Yeah, Brownsville is not going to be gentrified.
Because look how Harlem is changing now. Because Harlem is turning back to what it was, back to what it was in the 90s.
Harlem is different.
Now, you
Yeah.
know why?
Not from Harlem. That ain't Harlem.
Here's what happened. This is
Harlem for the streets.
the reason why.
Don't call it Noha.
Hmm?
Don't call it Noha.
Noha.
Don't call it Noha. Yo, don't disrespect Harlem, bro. Chill.
It's
Call it
changing
Noha.
back-
Chill.
Changing back to the way it was because all them white people went uptown and got cheap drugs, and now all of them is strung out with this opioid epidemic. Now it's
Epidemic is
opioid
crazy.
crisis.
Harlem is not. Somebody sent me a couple pictures and I was like, oh my God, like that cannot be. They start
Harlem
from the,
look like Williamsburg.
yeah.
Once you see the Starbucks, you know it started.
Yeah, when that coffee shop comes,
What's down in Harlem?
it's
too.
wild.
So it's two things that happen when you know your neighborhood is gentrified. That Starbucks and that Mexican bar. Once you got a little Mexican bar, yeah, you're done.
And a juice bar.
And a juice bar.
Mhm.
Once
Like people love Mexican for food and stuff.
Now, when they start putting healthy stuff in the area, it's a problem. They start
Whole
taking away the
Foods?
pizza
Oh, it's
shops.
quiet.
You get a Whole Foods.
Whole
forget about
Foods
it.
don't come in till after everybody's settled. Then they
And-
come. Then they
yeah.
six one.
And Whole Foods
That's how
is
they brought it downtown. Hell yeah.
Whole Foods is capped too because when we had first moved to Jersey and we went to like Whole Foods in like Montclair, it was like all nice. Then we went to Whole Foods in Newark. They had
They
like
got a Whole Foods in
Big
Newark.
difference. Big
it
difference.
had- yes, but it's capped because they don't sell the same thing that they sell in Montclair. They'll sell you
Nope.
like five
Yeah.
different types of tilapia. Like they still trying. Whole Foods is capped in the hood. Don't ever go to a Whole Foods in the hood. It is all capped.
But that's all grocery stores for you. Because I was on the phone recently and I was showing somebody in the store like the different types of food that we have out here versus the city and like what you could get for your buck. Like I just went the other day and got 3 lobster tails for $7 a piece. Whole lobsters, not tails, the whole lobsters. Did a whole vlog about it. And you go to the city and that same sale will be like $10, like $5 or $6 more, depending on what you're getting, like, or they don't have it at all. Certain cuts of meat, certain cuts of certain vegetables, certain exotic vegetables, because they're not promoting health to the inner city in a sense. I just found out, I actually didn't know until election that Long Island is considered Republican. So they really don't have a lot of the stuff that they have in the city. So sometimes I gotta go to the city for certain food or certain things that I like, but then I'll come out here like and eat super, super healthy because that's all that they really promote. And the price is like $10 for a dragon fruit, a pound.
I went to Acme.
We didn't have dragon fruit in Brownsville. We know.
Okay, I never had one until I lived out here. I was like, what's that?
She talking about cat, but she out there eating dragon fruit. See how she
Yeah,
out
they
there
don't have no cat.
And lobster.
eating dragon fruit and
They ain't got
lobster.
no cat. They actually use meat in the Chinese stores here and be like, "Hi, friend, and how do you want it?" And they be like, "I missed you. I missed your business." Like they extra friendly out here now.
You left Brownsville just as fast as Ramel did.
Nah, I did not. I left Brownsville when I was 19 and went to college. And then when my grandmother died, that's when they officially moved out the hood. But I was in Atlanta by then, 21.
Eating dragon fruit and lobster.
I'm telling you, we be lucky.